Hey, I've never done this before, and I'm very self conscious about doing it. But I want to say a few things, and it would take too long to write, so I'm going to do it this way. I want to say some things about the current political situation, um, particularly how to talk. I want to talk to the people that support Trump and hate Democrats. Um, I get it. I understand that you're fed up with the system, fed up with the Democrats, fed up with the Republicans. I did it. What I think you don't get is that people like me, and there are many, many people like me, who are disappointed with what our government has done our entire lives. Pretty much nothing. All of the good stuff that was done happened before we were born, happened in the 40s, in the 50s, in the early 60s. And after that, pretty much nothing good happened. And what I firmly believe is that there are plenty of people in Congress, sorry about that, over the years that have proposed ideas that have been just abandoned and left unvoted for or didn't even make it out of committee. A lot of good ideas that were proposed by both sides, but mostly by the Democrats. I mean, I hate to say this, but if you think about it, what can you think of anything that the Republicans have passed in your lifetime that they were responsible for passing and they were the majority that was beneficial to your life besides a tax cut, which some of you obviously realize doesn't really help you in the long run? So there are a lot of politicians, they go to Congress, they come up with these great ideas that will help society because that's what these politicians are there to do. That's what they start out as, idealistic people who want to make society a better place. And that's mostly the Democrats. I'm sorry to say it, but that's really the Democrats, the independents, and the Republicans seem to be the ones that want to stop any kind of social change. They want to revert stuff. They are called conservatives for a reason. And they're mostly reactionary, especially now, which means they want to revert. They want to get rid of a lot of the things that the liberals have gotten over the years. But what else is not understood is that some of the ideas that the Democrats were able to get through, they had to bastardize those. So take, for example, the Affordable Care Act. Sorry about that. The Affordable Care Act is nothing like what it was supposed to be that Obama and the people that were started actually wanted. It actually started out during Clinton's term, and he just abandoned it because he knew he wasn't going to get any support. And they worked very hard at trying to come up with an idea. When Obama came into office and he tried again, his plans were continuously turned down. They were voted, everybody said no, no, no. No matter what he proposed, they said no. When he asked, okay, let's all get together and talk about this, what are your ideas? They just said no, basically. Nothing, they couldn't negotiate because they wouldn't allow him to get anything. They actually, and if you know this is historically accurate, McConnell said, we are not going to allow Obama to do anything for 4 years. And then it was 4 more years after that. So eventually, Obama said, okay, we'll take the plan that they used in Massachusetts, which was drawn up by the Heritage Club. The Heritage Club is a conservative think tank, and they came up with that idea to try and head off what the Clintons were doing in the 90s. And their idea was used by Mitt Romney in Massachusetts, who was very successful. And Obama said, here, we'll use this plan. This is your plan, you guys. And they said no. They didn't care. They just said no. So then, in order to get that passed, the Democrats had to jump through hoops. They had to do everything just to win by a 1-vote majority for something that the Republicans could have helped with, and they did not. And then the Republicans spent the next 8 years and still continue to try and get rid of Obamacare, rather than what everybody expected to happen was the parts that don't work so well, let's fix them. There was never any attempt on the part of the Republicans to try and work with the Democrats to help fix the stuff about Obamacare that they didn't like. Instead, they did everything they could to torpedo it. Everything. And they're still doing it. There are many, many things that the Democrats have come up with as ideas that were toned down so that they would fit better towards the powers that be on the right wing. So you dumb down something that was supposed to be idealistic and good, and the businesses say, no, that costs us money. You can't do that. And the Democrats change it to their liking, and then it becomes a piece of shit, or a half of a piece of shit. And sometimes that half of a piece of shit is worth more than nothing. It's better than not doing anything. But this continuously happens over and over and over again. And you guys on the right, with your talk show radio hosts telling you that the Democrats are bad and that they're doing bad things, constantly telling you this, and never telling you anything but that, you have no idea what's going on with the Democrats, actually. You're just hearing what the Republicans and the talk show radio hosts are telling you. So then you don't even have because of this environment, this environment of just the Democrats are bad, the Democrats are bad, the Democrats are bad, the Democrats are bad, and lots of lies about that too. You guys have lost the ability to just talk about this stuff with the Democrats. And rather than do that, you've been encouraged to just hate the Democrats. The Democrats have always been take the high road kind of people. And not until recently have they decided to get really tough. And because they, myself being a left-wing liberal person, have just had enough. I mean, we can't sit back and take this takeover by the conservative right-wing talk show radio hosts anymore, because that's what it is. It's the radio show hosts that have pretty much taken over the Republican Party and all of the people that vote Republican, and have taught them to think in black and white terms only. So you don't know the things that the Democrat senators and Republican, and House members have brought ideas to the Senate and the Congress, and they've said, hey, here's a bill. I think this would be good for the United States. And because it's a Democrat bill, because it maybe costs some money that they would have to use taxes for, the Republicans and the business people, the ones that are actually running the government in the first place, say, no, we're not going to let you do that. You don't even know about those bills. You don't even realize that there's people who have actually good ideas. All you see is the crap that finally gets signed, or you hear about the stuff that they don't want to pass. So they go out of their way to make it sound terrible. Terrible. And there's never any discussion about the details. There's never any discussion about whether or not something is good or not. I mean, the other day, somebody just flat out said that Pelosi refused to vote for the Republican proposal for a stimulus. No mention whatsoever, seems like no realization that the Republicans have refused to vote on the last two Democratic proposals. Just refused to vote on it. goes to the Senate, sits there, nothing is done. All you guys know is that the Democrats didn't want to vote for something the Republicans said. How is that fair? How is that knowing what's going on? It's not. You're missing a whole other side of the story. And this is to their benefit. It's not to your benefit. It's to their benefit. So I don't know how I can say this any better, but I have been disappointed and upset my entire life with what the Democrats have been able to do, because they can't do anything because they're not allowed to, because they're not. Republicans won't let them do it. Conservatives won't let them do it. Businesses will not let them do it. So if they get anything done, it's half-assed for the most part. And if it wasn't like that, if they could actually pass the stuff that they came up with in the first place, good things, good ideas, we'd be living in a much better society. That's all I got.